Hi, and welcome to Green by Design TV. I'm Connie.
And I'm Greg. We'll be your hosts for the next half hour as we look at what folks around the tri-state area are doing to lead a more considered, healthier life.
We believe we're all in a very timely position to make a change.
That's true. Now, in the interest of clean energy and in the interest of coming clean with you all, we have to say that Connie and I are not the greenest people. In fact, I would say that we're maybe turning green.
Yeah, I like to use the term newly greens. I know, I know, it's silly. Seriously though, we're just now realizing the impact of some of our choices, and we're wondering if maybe there are some better ones.
That's really the hardest part. Not only knowing what the right choices are, but figuring out how to incorporate those choices into our lives.
We feel that if everyone took just one step, it would make a big impact on everyone's health and well-being. So join us as we discover all things sustainable and look in on other people also taking their first steps.
Come on, Gid.
Today, we're taking a look at solar with Bob Prout of Prout Funeral Home in Verona, New Jersey. We had a chance to speak with Bob and discuss his recent solar installation and the New Jersey Clean Energy Program.
Bob, thank you so much for coming down.
No problem.
Green by Design.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate your time. Could you start us off by telling us a little bit about your business, and then what is a typical energy need of your business?
I've got a family business, a funeral home in Verona. My grandfather started back in 1924, and my father and I are currently operating. The energy needs would be similar to many of the small businesses. We need probably about 40 kilowatts in a month, whereas an average house would use maybe 8 or 10 tops.
Why don't you just give us a little bit of an idea of that extra educational element that you installed, what you have there for that, and then maybe tell us a little bit about the
squirrel?
kind of students that you yeah,
We've got a squirrel in the room too. Sister Mary Agnes has been principal at Our Lady of the Lake School in Verona for quite a while, and she has actually started an Earth Literacy course for the 6th grade. And part of the Earth Literacy course is coming and visiting the solar installation up at the funeral home. We'll go outside, we'll look at the panels on the roof. I go inside, show them the inverter room, and I've got a 5-minute DVD that came from the National Renewable Energy Lab out in Colorado. And I wrap it up with some questions and answers. Each grouping of panels upstairs has its own inverter because the sun's rays hit the panels in the back of the house a little bit sooner than the ones that are up in the front of the house and at a different intensity. And you can see that this grouping of panels is putting out about 1,200 watts of power. This one's only putting out 600 watts of power. And those numbers, again, go up and down depending upon the clouds going overhead. And I've got different posters explaining how the solar works and why it works and why we should be heading there. I've got monitors hooked up to the inverters that show exactly what the real-time production of power is. But I've got graphs showing what we've produced that day or that week or that month.
That's cool.
They see the solar panels on the roof. This will give them an idea of why we have the solar panels on the roof, what it's doing, how much it's actually saving. In essence, it's cutting the overhead of the funeral home.
Now we recognize that installing a solar system on your house is a big undertaking.
It's a huge undertaking. It's a solar system, for Pete's sake.
Anyway, installing a solar power system on your house is a big
that's
undertaking. What with all the financing and the planning. But there are smaller steps you can take, things you can do right now.
You know, one of the most powerful and simple things you can do is to change one of your conventional light bulbs to be a compact fluorescent bulb. Now, these bulbs are a little bit more expensive than the traditional bulbs, but again, the New Jersey Clean Energy Program comes through by subsidizing the cost of some of these light bulbs to make them cheaper.
You just want to look for this sticker, and the cost of your bulbs will be about half what they would normally be. And they last up to 5 times longer than regular bulbs. We'll have a link to more information on greenbydesign.tv.
Also on our website, you'll see a banner for the Energy Star Change a Light campaign. If you follow that link, you can pledge to change a light. We're trying to get just 100 people to take that pledge.
When we return, we'll discuss cost, and we'll look at some specifics of the New Jersey Clean Energy Program.
Welcome back. Later we'll be looking at some organic fashions, but first we're talking solar.
New Jersey has a tremendous program available to entice individuals and businesses to move towards sustainability, whether it be solar, hydroelectric, geothermal, or wind.
Prout Funeral Home in Verona, New Jersey is one business that's taking advantage of this incredible program.
When I looked into the program and I looked into the feasibility, all the numbers seemed to add up. and that's when we decide to go with it.
So where do you start a process like that? I know you mentioned getting in touch with consultants. Is that really where one would begin?
Yeah, Montclair is one of the few towns in the area, and they're to be commended, as far as having an office of renewable energy and sustainability. And I talked to Mr. Russell, and he pointed me in the direction of Bob Simpson up in Wayne, who is actually doing consulting work.
I just tell them whether they qualify, in my opinion. And then I say, if you want, I'll get an installer. He'll do a check also to determine whether we both agree that they qualify.
Whether or not you qualify is based around your sun exposure time.
Sun exposure, how old the roof is because they don't want to put a system on an old roof. Since these systems are warranted, the panels are warranted for 20 to 25 years.
Right.
You don't want to have to take that system down to replace a roof.
Right.
So that's another characteristic that's very important.
And he started running around the roof with this little meter, and said that it is a good location as far as the solar is concerned. A commercial building, it's got a lot of roof space, it's angled in the right direction. We do get a lot of the sun. A day like today, we're doing great.
Okay, I just wanted to take a minute to talk about the 4 components of a basic solar system. You've got the photovoltaic cells, the inverters, batteries, and the net meter. So first, of course, are the photovoltaic cells that we're used to seeing up on everybody's roofs. Solar panels generate DC power. And that DC power is fed into an inverter. The job of the inverter is to take that DC and turn it into AC for your appliances. Now, you may or may not have a battery backup. And the purpose of the battery is just that, backup. In the event of a power failure, they keep you up. And the last component being the net meter. There's going to be those times when you're actually generating more power than you need. So the net meter allows you to feed that power back into the system, but it also allows public service to keep track of that power so that on those other times when you're not generating enough power for your own use, you can supplement your house with power from the grid, but you can pay for it with credits that you've banked using the net meter.
If you're seriously considering solar, we recommend you go to the NJCEP website. They have some great calculators and a ton of resources available and should really be the first stop for anybody in New Jersey who's starting to think green. You can make our site your second stop. We won't be offended. Now, let's get on to the specifics of the New Jersey Clean Energy Program.
The New Jersey Clean Energy Program is a sort of a multifaceted program to entice you to get into renewable energy. It's almost like the points of a finger. On one finger, you've got the fact that they will, when I was doing it, the rebate program was 60 to 70% of the installation cost. That's right now, because there are a lot more people jumping into and the program is taking off, the rebates are down to about 50-55%, but that's still a tremendous underwriting of a project.
Sure. To qualify for the rebate, there are certain prerequisites that your site has to meet in terms of sun exposure, orientation.
And they'll also do an energy audit over your last 12 months of electric bills. Right. What they're looking for is that if you've used 8 kilowatts of power, you're not putting up a 40 kilowatt system to try to churn the system.
50% of that, sure.
Right.
Makes sense.
So that what they're looking for is sustainability for that particular property or that particular usage on that house. On another aspect of it, you've got net metering, so that the idea is that you would produce all the power that you would need on site at any given time or day, and any excess power that you produce is sent back to the utility, in our case public service. And at night or on snowy days or on rainy days, you're buying from public service, but you're paying with it with the credits that you've banked on the good days. So that's the second aspect.
So the rebate is on the installation, the whole setup.
The rebate is on the installation. And the net metering would be on the use of the electric that you're producing right now.
Month-to-month use.
And then a third aspect, for every 1,000 kilowatt hours of power that you produce, you get a green certificate that I could then auction off to any of the utilities. All the utilities in the state, whether it be Rockland Electric or Jersey Central or Public Service, they're all required to have 4% of their power from renewable sources. That's going to be ratcheted up to approximately 20% by the year 2020.
Right, sorry about that.
None of the utilities have the capability right now of putting out 4% or 20% of their power through sustainable means. So what they're doing is buying credits from smaller producers like me. I just banked a check for approximately $3,400 for 14 or 15 credit hours. And I said to my wife, this is a great country where, I've gotten $3,400 for electric that I produced on my roof with my equipment and consumed internally, and somebody wants to pay me to do that.
Right.
Is it time consuming to auction them off?
No.
No?
It's all online. You just log on to the New Jersey Clean Energy Program, njcep.com. You would then log on to your own web page, record how many certificates you've got available, and then the different utilities that would be looking for them would call you up.
eBay for energy.
Basically,
That's fun.
basically.
When Green by Design continues, we talk tax credits, and then we try on some sustainable fashions.
Today we're discussing solar with Bob Prout of Prout Funeral Home in Verona, New Jersey. Now we wanted to take a second to discuss cost, just to give you an idea of what a solar system actually goes for. Now these are just ballpark numbers, and all these figures came from the New Jersey Clean Energy Program website, njcep.com, which is just an awesome resource. I have to admit that when we first started looking at solar, all the kilowatts and megawatts, it was kind of Greek to me. If any of you are like me and perhaps could benefit from a little refresher, we're going to just cover some of the basics of how energy is measured in New Jersey.
We'll use a 100-watt light bulb as a reference. 10 100-watt bulbs equals 1 kilowatt. If we left those 10 bulbs on for 1 hour, we'd use 1 kilowatt hour of electricity. On our electric bill, electricity usage is reported in kilowatt hours, and the average cost of 1 kilowatt hour is about 12 cents.
Okay, so that's how energy is measured and billed. Now we actually have to know how much we use. So on your bill each month from Public Service, you will see a field for total kilowatt hours. This is your use for the month. The average use for a month in New Jersey is 700 kilowatt hours. Now, even just knowing this is kind of useful because you can see where your energy use measures up against your neighbor.
Ours being high, by the way.
Ours being a little higher, yeah.
And of course, the other piece to the puzzle is the solar rig itself. And solar rigs are rated by kilowatt, not kilowatt hour, and that's because depending on where they're located, they will generate differently. In order to offset 100% the cost of a New Jersey home, you would need a 5 kilowatt system at a cost of $40,000.
Now, as a matter of strategy, if putting up a system that offsets 100% of your usage is too much for you to shoulder, you could choose to put up something that instead offsets 20% of your usage. Either way, you're always going to be tied to the grid.
Right. Mm-hmm. And speaking of finance and things like that, the last word is always taxes. Yeah. Now back to Bob Prout.
So you've got the rebate program, you've got the net metering, you've got the green certificates.
Right.
And on top of that, being a business, just tremendous tax credits. You've got up to 30% tax credits with the energy bill that was signed.
Back on your initial outlay? Or?
That was 30% of my costs that I can take as far as a tax credit, not a deduction. Mm-hmm. As a homeowner, you have 30%. I think it's up to $3,000 or $4,000. I'm not sure what the cap is
I had
for a homeowner.
2 at the moment.
Yeah, I haven't had to look into that because
right, as a business.
I've got the business.
Did you realize that New Jersey is second only to California in terms of the incentives that are available to its residents? Most people in New Jersey don't even realize that New Jersey is such a progressive state in terms of changing the way that we get our power and ultimately live our lives.
Oh, that's deep, honey.
Oh, thank you.
But seriously, we are hoping to shed some light on what we believe are some very important issues with this show.
Now let's get back to our interview with Bob Prout and more about the Clean Energy Program.
Part of the project that I've got was putting in a generator. I'm right in the middle of the project right now of putting in a carport type of structure through the parking lot so that I would be able to put additional panels on top of the carport and you'd be able to park underneath. Practically speaking, the roof of the carport would be producing energy as well.
But I did want to ask you about a generator. You put a generator in.
You don't need it. The inverters have an automatic switch. If public service were to have a major blackout, the inverters automatically separate us off the grid so that the power that I'm producing on site wouldn't be fed back into the grid. So that if a fellow from public service or a gal from public service is climbing the pole out front trying to repair the transformer, they think that there's a power failure and that there's no power.
Right.
They wouldn't get zapped with 44 kilowatts of power coming out of my place.
Right.
In my case, the transfer switch sort of keeps the finger on the pulse of the electric coming in from public service. If it detects that there's a problem, it automatically puts up a dam and separates us off the grid, but then automatically kicks the generator on. And I put in the generators simply because, being a business, if I had a house full of people for a service, I would want to stay up and running.
The net metering is a little different from in the case of a power outage. Normally, if you're producing a little more, it flows back. The net meter just runs in the opposite direction.
Correct.
You put back to the grid. But in the event that there is a grid-wide power failure, even though it's a sunny day and I have my solar panels, the power of the grid goes down.
Correct.
My house would still go dark.
Correct. If I were a homeowner looking into something like this, what I would probably do myself would be to find an inverter that also has a battery pack. But I might put half the system on battery just to be able to keep my sump pumps or refrigerator or burglar alarm, fire alarm system.
Right.
And anything of major importance in the house would still stay on. And the batteries would keep it up and running for 12, 14 hours.
So it's really the batteries that make that aspect possible.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when the carport goes up, I'm going to have about 6 kilowatts of battery backup as well to coordinate with the generator.
You pretty much got all the components, all the bells and whistles you
I
can
have all
possibly have.
Well, actually, at the Clean Energy Conference the other day, I was looking at a few others where they have little wind current meters, and I think I'm going to add up all of those. The toys just get better as you get older. I've said oftentimes, conservation doesn't mean living in a cave. It's meaning a better use of the resources that you've got available to you at this point in time.
Yeah.
And getting back to the very beginning of what we were just talking about a few minutes ago, these resources are available. Not only are the resources available, but the incentives from the state and the federal government are incredible.
Right.
It's just a great opportunity to act upon it.
Yeah.
Right.
Your feeling is really now is the time.
Now
That's
is the time.
New Jersey's Clean Energy Program was started by the Board of Public Utilities to try to jumpstart New Jersey's alternative energy market. The irony is, the program has almost worked too well. There's been such a rush of applicants, the BPU now has a real dilemma on their hands. Because of that, the program is going to be restructured in 2008. The plan at this point is to phase out the rebate portion of the program entirely, but instead to increase the renewable energy credits that Bob Prout was just talking about from $200 per 1,000 kilowatt hours to $400 per 1,000 kilowatt hours. Now what this means is it's going to cost consumers more money up front to install an alternative energy system on their home, but the payback time should work out to be just about the same, about 7 years on average. Because New Jersey is such a leader in this area, a lot of states are looking at what we do with our program, see how it shakes out.
Regardless of what happens to the state program, the federal tax rebate has just been extended until 2010. But if you're on the fence wondering about a solar installation and you think it might be cheaper to wait until the panels come down in price, consider this. The average cost of a solar installation has gone down 5% per year. The current rebates are being phased out and will be gone by 2008. Add to that the unprecedented cost of electricity, and really, it's a no-brainer.
So you have a squirrel.
Yes, we have a squirrel.
Of your,
Over the past couple of years of looking into the whole setup, I would be out to dinner or with friends, and people would ask me what I was getting involved in. And I told them was looking into solar electric panels for the roof, and people would say, "You're nuts, you're squirrely, you're crazy." They're ready to commit me. And I happened to, in one of the stores, see a little squirrel chomping on a nut, and I bought that, and that sat on my desk while I was looking into this whole project. And as the room came into being and the inverters went in and the panels went up, I put the squirrel in the corner. And now that the meter is spinning backwards,
You're right.
and my electric bill is either greatly reduced or eliminated each month, the squirrel's having the last laugh.
right.
There you
Gonna
go.
have to get it bronzed at some point.
Yeah, that's a reminder, that sometimes even the screwier ideas work.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is one of those. It just works. I'm not an electrician. I'm not an electrical engineer. I'm a funeral director. All I know is that when I go downstairs and I see the meter spinning backwards, and I see my electric bills I know it works.
Very cool.
We'd like to thank Bob Prout of Prout Funeral Home in Verona, New Jersey, for taking the time to sit down and talk with us. You know, it's nice to meet a business owner who can see past the short-term profit-loss statements and see that by taking just a little bit of a longer-term view, you could still satisfy your financial obligations to your business, but also meet some moral and ethical obligations as well.
Not only has he committed his business to sustainable energy, he's also a great spokesperson and advocate for the cause. It was an honor to meet him.
So until next time, keep thinking green.
It's good for the earth, and it's good for you.